Okay, today's lesson will be on going from the factored form, so building the factored form equation, and then changing it into the standard form. Okay, so I'll go over what the standard form is again. You've seen it before, you've studied it before, but we didn't spend a lot of time on it, so I'll go over what that form looks like. But for now, let's just, as a warm-up, let's go through and do these questions here. They relate to what you did last day. So you need to build the factored form. So go ahead of me and try to figure this out. But if you do need the review, what you need to do here is, let's just write down the general form of the factored form that we used the other day. Okay, so we have to build this. So that means we need A, S, T, and we'll have our equation. So if we read through the problem here, we have, we need to find an equation where the zeros are -4 and 2. The y-intercept is 4. Okay, so again, just feel free to label these. One is S, one is T, doesn't matter which order. Okay, and then you know the y-intercept. Okay, so again, if you were graphing it, it's at 4. Okay, so that's where it goes through. So the x and y value there would be 0 and 4, like that. Okay, so that is another point on this graph that you can use. So it'll be x and y. So plug it in here. Okay, we don't know A. All right, so then go through. That becomes +4. That's -2. Multiply that all together. This whole clump here becomes -8a. Boot the 8 across. Okay, and then you get -1/2, right? And then from there, we'll write in our factored form. Okay, we'll leave the y alone, put in our a. Okay, I'm just going to clean up the b right away, so -4 goes in there, so you get +4. And subtract 2. Okay, so again, if you double check, they should pop out a -4. Yep. Pops out a +2. Yep. All right, so there is the standard form of this description here. All right, there's a part B now. I want you to write this in standard form. Okay, so standard form has this form here. Okay, so there's an x squared, there's a b term, and then there's a c term. So the main thing here is there's no brackets and so forth. So what you want to do here with this factored form that you just created, I want you to FOIL out, multiply all this out, expand it out, and you will get to the standard form. Okay, so let's do that here. So like we practiced already before, when you take care of this part here, you want to do that first and then leave the 1/2 alone, okay? Just kind of carry it along. So you want to take care of this part here, okay? All right, so you can do that by using FOIL or using your area model. Okay, so area model looks like this. Right, so we're just going to put like the x +4 here and the x subtract 2 here. Okay, so you multiply them out. Okay, and then rewrite it, so that becomes x squared. Add these together, 2x, subtract 8, like that. Okay, if you're foiling it out, remember you're going to go first, outer, inner, last. Okay, so again, these methods are the exact same, just one just more, it organizes it more visually. Here you just got to remember all the FOIL steps and so forth, okay? All right, so when we clean that up, we will get this here. Okay, so we're almost there. We almost look like we're in the standard form, but now we have to multiply this 1/2 in to everybody here. Okay, so you got to distribute that in. So 1/2 times, right, this is like 1 here, 1/2 times x squared becomes, sorry, negative 1/2 becomes negative 1/2 squared, okay? Negative 1/2 times 2 becomes negative x, and then, so it's like I'm dividing by 2 here, right, when I multiply by half. And then negative times negative makes positive, and then it's like I'm dividing by 2, dividing the 4 by 2, 8 by 2 to make 4. And now I have it in standard form. Okay, so I have the ax squared, the bx, and then the c term here. Okay, so that's what you're doing today. You're trying to build some sort of equation that you can change over to the standard form. Then to get from the the factored form to the standard form, all you're doing is expanding, and you're using FOIL or the area model here, okay, to expand. Okay, so here's a summary of the two forms now. So you did this the other day with the factored form. So here's the general form. So A, again, determines if it opens up or down. Okay, it'll also tell you the stretch and so forth. But the key new things here are the zeros, right? This is where the zeros are, which are also considered to be the x-intercepts. With the standard form, you have this form here, and we've seen this before. We studied it a little bit. So A again, and we'll determine if it opens up or down, right? And if there's a stretch. But the last term here was the y-intercept. So if you had if you have a quadratic function and you see it do something like that, and if it hit at 2, then your c value would be 2. Okay. All right, so again, this is what we're doing. We're going from the factored form to the standard form today. And we just do that by expanding. Okay, we're using FOIL, we're using the area model. Okay, so just multiplying it out until we have no brackets. Okay, so you saw an example here where I gave you some properties of the graph, and you had to build your equation. So you built the factored form, and then you got to your standard form, and yeah. So what if I give you a picture? Can you, again, find the standard form? So I'll just say find the standard form. Okay, so if you wanted to, I could show you, you can use the vertex form, you can build that, or you can use the factored form, okay, and build the factored form, but then eventually get it to the standard form. So I'll show you both ways here. So for this example here, I'm going to show you how to build the factored form in order to get to the standard form first, okay? So let's just do that down here. So if we want the factored form equation, you need to eventually build this form here. Okay, and the different thing about this question is I actually just gave you a graph. Can you find some information about the graph so you can build the general form here? Okay, so things that we need our a value. Okay, we need our we need our two zeros as well. So right away, if you're looking here, it's a nice graph, so we can see our 2 zeros are there. Okay, so let's say S, that one's S, and that one's T. Okay, and then to find A, remember we just need another nice point. So I'm looking like at this one here. This looks like a nice point. Goes right through the crosshair, so that's 5, 3. Okay, so that'll be our x and y. So let's go through and build this. So we have 3, A, x was 5, S was, okay, so S here, if you're looking at it, it's 2 and 4, okay? All right, so that's 2, 5 minus 4, okay, and go through and just clean it up. Okay, so then we end up with 3a equals a, so just kick the 3 over, and you get a equals 1. Okay, all right, so then your general equation for your factored form will be, so a is 1, so we don't write anything, x subtract 2, x subtract 4. Okay, and that is your factored form. Okay, but that's not what the question wanted. It wanted you to find an equation in standard form. So what you're going to do here now is you're going to expand out the factored form. So I'm going to use the FOIL method here. So x first is x squared. Okay, outer is negative 4x, inner negative 2x, last, okay, as positive 8. Okay, and then we're just going to clean up the middle. That makes it 6x and then plus 8. Okay, so that is your standard form. All right, that is one way to go about building the standard form. You actually have a lot of tools now under your belt. We are in cycle 5 now, right? So you picked up a lot of stuff over the semester so that you can actually build, tackle this in lots of different ways, okay? So I'm just going to give you another one here. You actually know how to build a vertex form equation now from the last cycle here. So let's just do that here. Okay, so I don't know, we can call this like method 1, just one way to do this. Here's another way, method 2. Okay. All right, so we know this equation is the vertex form equation. Okay, so we know 3 different forms now. We know the standard form, we know the factored form, we know the vertex form. It's one of the first forms that we learned. So from this graph again, if you're looking at building this equation, you need A, you need H, and you need K. So how are you going to find HK? Well, that's the vertex. There it is right there. It's another nice point. That's 3, negative 1. Okay, so that's your HK. All right. And then, again, we can use this point here as our xy, and we can find A. And another way to find A in this case here, another way that you've actually, another tool that you've picked up is, from the vertex, remember you always go over 1, and then you check, oh, how much did I go up? Oh, I went up 1. Over 1, oh, I went up 3, right? So you can see that the step pattern here, over 1, oh, I just went up 5. So the step pattern is that 1, 3, 5. So that means your A is equal to 1. Okay, so that's just another way to find A as well. Okay, so you can just throw everything that you are comfortable with at this, and there's a lot of different ways that you can go about getting this to the standard form. Okay, so I'm just going to finish off this vertex form here so that you can just see this method as well on the note. Okay, so again, I'm going to use this point here. Let's just say I can't find A because the graph wasn't that great. So then I'll go 3A, x is 5, okay? Subtract h, which is 3, and then plus k, which is negative 1. All right, so let's go through, clean this up. Okay, put that over. Okay, boot the 4 over, and there we go, we're getting the same A again. Okay, so you can say, all right, here's my vertex form equation. Okay, so there's my A is 1, so I don't write it in. But you can say, okay, there's my vertex form. So from here, you can go from the vertex form to the standard form. Okay, so that's what you did here. You went factored to standard. So here you can go vertex to standard. So same thing, you're going to expand this out so there's no brackets. So this will be the same as writing it as having 2 of these multiplied together. Okay, so FOIL it out. first, outer, inner, last. Or you can use area model, okay? All right, so those two are like terms, 6, and those two are like terms, that's 8. Okay, so now you've got another one, another standard form here of the same graph, but we just just went through a different method from what we did here, okay? All right, so again, if you wanted to find your A using the step pattern, if you have a nice graph, then that would have been really quick, so you didn't have to do all this work to find A for both equations. But yeah, if you kind of look at both of them though, if you could use a combination of some of those methods, so we can even call this method 3 here, okay, using the step pattern to build and then find the vertex form or find the factored form, then you can quickly get to your standard form. So again, it's just the A that took a little bit of work, but when it comes down to it, you do have to FOIL in both methods. I guess there's a little bit more like to add in a value here, so that's why like the vertex form might take a few more steps, but otherwise, yeah, just whatever method works here, like if or that you like, you can use it to get to your standard form, okay? Again, and then just, you can try all 3 if you want to, just to kind of practice all the methods as well. All right, but in the end, our goal is to get to the standard form here. And I apologize, in the video, I made a mistake here and I was trying to fix the video without redoing it again. So anyway, you'll see that sometimes it looks, there's an 8 here and then there's a 6 here. So it's supposed to be 6, okay. All right, yes, let's move on to the next example. Just showing another example just so that you get a little bit more practice in. But yeah, just it's the same as before. Just go through and do those. If you feel pretty confident with the graph, you can kind of jump down to those next questions here where what if I just give you a description again? Can you build the equation? And eventually get to standard form, and there's a couple more here. So anyway, I have these here so that if you wanted to, I don't know, FaceTime a classmate and then work on these together, you can do that as well. Otherwise, here is the homework. And then once you feel confident at getting to the standard form, then try the checkpoint, okay? All right, so let's just do a few more examples. I'm looking at this one again. I have a graph, I don't have a description, so you have to go digging for evidence. And if you take a look here at look for the zeros right away. You want to always look for that they're going through a nice point that you can read off the graph. So here's one, right? So we have a -5 and 3, okay? So again, if you want to build the factored form, you can do that. So in that case, we'll say, oh yeah, that one's S, and that one's T. Doesn't matter which one though, which way it goes, but just kind of make a note of that one's -5, that one's 3. All right, we, for the factored form, we always just need another equation, or sorry, another point. Okay, so let's go find another nice point. So we're looking at the vertex. See the vertex here? It's not a great point because it's it's between 30 and 35. So you're estimating, oh, maybe it's halfway, but you're not sure. So that's why don't grab this point. Grab something that is, going through the crosshairs like that, okay? All right, so I'm analyzing here. And again, don't grab the points, the zeros that you're already using to build this equation, okay? Grab another new point. So I'm scanning along here. That was close, but still not going through the crosshairs. Oh, here's one right there. Okay, that's a nice point. This is another nice one here. Okay, but I'm scanning the rest of the graph. Nothing else is good. So it doesn't matter which point you want to grab. Just either one will work because they're both nice points. Okay, so here, like if I wrote it out, that's -230, and this one is 030. Okay, so pick and choose whatever you want, it'll still work. Okay, so and then just in the previous example, remember how we use the step pattern to get our A really quick. In this case here, again, it's tricky because we don't have a nice vertex point that we are confident about. So you can't use the whole go over 1 and then up, okay? Because again, that first shift over and then, or sorry, I guess we're going down. We don't know if it was like, 1.5 down or 3 down and so forth. So we're guessing, right? And see the next shift over, it's 1 and a little bit. So it's really tricky to just, yeah, use the step pattern here. So it's not accurate. So don't use the step pattern. It's not going to work here, okay? So that's why being able to have all of those tools under your belt, vertex form, factored form, step pattern, be able to like, yeah, just use any of those, but make sure the conditions are right, okay? All right, I'm just gonna go through and practice the factored form a bit more, just because that's the newest form that you need to practice. So let's, I'm gonna use this point here, okay? All right, so my y is 30, need to find a, x is -2, s is -5, -2 for x, and subtract 3 here. Okay, that's 3. This one is -5. Okay, so then I end up with -15a. Okay, again, multiply these, don't add them. All right, and boot this over. And you get -2, okay? All right, so we have our A. I'm just going to keep going down the page here so that way I can use a different method here. Let's build our equation. Okay, the first one here was -5, so I'm going to make it +5. The other one's +3, so that becomes -3 here. Okay, so then you're like, I'm done. I did all that work. I'm done. I'm done. No. Okay, remember today isn't just about the factored form. It's about getting to the standard form. All right, so that's step 1. Let's go to step 2. Okay, so now you're just literally, you have to get rid of the brackets. Okay, so start foiling out. So again, take care of this part first, then do something with the -2. So I'm leaving the -2 out. I'm going to foil out the rest here. So first, outer, inner, okay, and last. Okay, so again, if you're getting the area model, you should have all of these in your box there. And then when you take it out of the box, it should look like this. It comes out of the box, okay? But then when you bring it out of the box, you have to multiply with the -2 here, so don't forget. So I'm just, again, you should always double check your work. Make sure everything's good, so I don't make the same mistake I did above. All right, and then let's multiply the -2 in. Okay, watch your signs. And then you get to there, okay? So multiply this here, and multiply this here. All right, so now I am in standard form, and that was the goal. Okay, so yeah, the nice thing about now being able to go between all the forms is that you can find a lot of information now with knowing how to write all the different forms. Like, you know that it opens down because of this negative. You know there's a vertical stretch. You know the zeros are -5 and +3. You know the y-intercept is 30. Okay, for this one I was thinking about building the vertex form, but then I realized we don't have a really nice vertex here that we can use to build the vertex form. Remember, the vertex form looks like this. Okay, so we need to find our H, our K, and our A. So basically our H and K right away are an issue. We could probably find our H, but then the K, it's a little tricky here because we don't have enough information here. So yeah, so for this one, I don't recommend using the step pattern or using the vertex form. You will learn in the next cycle though, if you're a little bit annoyed, like why can't I switch to the vertex form here? You can actually switch from factor to standard to the vertex form, okay? So there's just a method there that you will learn, and yeah, but it'll be in the next cycle. So for now, just if you're really good at building the factored form and getting to standard form, great job, okay? And then I know the one above here, we actually were able to build the vertex form because we had a nice vertex, we had the step pattern and so forth, so we can get to the a standard form that way as well. Okay, but sometimes the vertex form doesn't work great if it's not some nice perfect vertex point. Okay. All right, so hopefully, yeah, after that you feel pretty confident. If you need a little bit more practice with the word problems, like the ones where I just give you some clues and then you have to build the equation, keep practicing these, okay? Otherwise, yes, go ahead and start the checkpoint. Okay, so here we go. So again, I say practice together, so this is where I would have wanted you to go up to the boards and practice on the windows and stuff like that, and bring a friend that you can teach and so forth. Okay, so this is something you can do maybe over FaceTime or Zoom. Yeah, just and then kind of work together. I recommend that you guys keep trying to do that instead of trying to learn this all on your own. Okay, and again, remember you could just email me if you want to meet up with me in Google Zoom, and I can go through some questions with you as well. All right, so let's go through. Our goal here is to build the standard form. And then it says here, state which way the parabola opens. Okay. Above, open. Okay. So below. I guess I should say below. Anyway, so let's just go through here. And let's, so we have some zeros right away. Whenever you have zeros, just go build the factored form. Okay, so if we do that, okay, so that's your S, that's your T, and this is a point X and Y. Okay, so let's go through and fill these in. So Y is -9. Oops. X is -1, subtract 0, -1, subtract 2. Okay, so that becomes positive 3a, boot that over. And again, if you're getting good at solving, you could just boot this over and then oh, that's divide by 3, so that should be -3. Yes, definitely just do that, okay? I'm just, I don't like to skip steps because I know I always get complaints if I do that. So I'm just writing everything in, but definitely don't write as much as I do, okay? If you don't need to. All right, so divide that out, and then a becomes -3. All right, I don't have enough space here, so let's make some more space. Okay, so now you're going to build your factored form, and then you're going to write it in standard form. Okay, so extend it out. Okay, so y equals, okay, so if you're getting to the point you've got the forms memorized, just, yeah, plug them right in. Okay, A is there, we have S is here, T is here, okay, so X, and then S was 0, and T was 2, okay, all right, and then just clean it up, you don't need that 0 there, okay, right there, so that could just become -3x, and then bracket x minus 2. Okay, so there's the factored form. You want to get to standard form. So again, no brackets. Okay, that's your goal here for standard form. Just kind of multiply through until there's no brackets. So this is just going to do a simple distributive property rainbow in and write your final answer here. Expand it out. Okay, so that's positive 6x like that. Okay, and there is your standard form. Okay, and then the question that I had to correct above, can you tell me if it opens up or opens down? Okay, so that was so part I is to write the equation in standard form, and then part II2 is which way does it open? Okay, so this one opens down. Okay, because look at the negative there. Okay, so here's the next one. So again, we have our zeros here. There's our S, there's our T, and we have our point. Okay, so again, when you have clues like that, when you have zeros, just build the standard form. Okay, you could go and build the vertex form again as well, but you might find that it's just a little quicker to just do it this way as well, but it's up to you. Okay, so let's fill these in. Okay, so we got two negative zeros this time. That becomes 12. That becomes 6. Okay, so we're crunching out some bigger numbers here now. So that becomes 72a, and then we're going to divide that by 128. Okay, so put that over. Okay, and that doesn't come out to a nice value, so let's just reduce it. I could divide by 8. Okay, so there we go. It's been reduced, and let's write our new equation here. Okay, in factored form. Okay, so that's the nice cleaned up factor form. But let's keep going. Let's write it in standard form. Okay, so almost there. Now we're going to multiply this fraction in, okay? So again, standard form doesn't have any brackets, so I know you've just spent a lot of time factoring. You want to leave that, the GCF out there, but you have to multiply it in. All right, so 6 over 9 multiplied in, 16 over 9 multiplied in becomes 16 over 9x squared. I'm going to multiply this here, so I'll just kind of write it at first, and then I'll calculate it out after. So you're literally multiplying everybody by 16 over 9. Okay, so when you do that, it cleans up to, okay, that one stays the same. This one becomes 128 over 9x. And this one becomes 112 over 9. Okay, so yes, it looks like a very messy equation, but you have it in standard form, and that's what I need to see. Okay, I need to see that everything's been multiplied in, and there's no brackets, and everything is reduced if possible. Or you know what, you can simplify it and just write it like this, I guess. This is acceptable as well. Okay, all right. So I think we just have a couple more graphs here, but I think that should be good for enough practice or enough examples for you to see. So go and just practice some of these textbook questions here, and then when you feel confident, try the checkpoint.